lucky enough, this was really hard to get, but I was lucky enough to get this beautiful right here. Beautiful Fett. Hey everyone, welcome to this new video. This is going to be a very, I hope not controversial, but this is a crazy collection. I've been working on this collection for multiple years. I decided to pull the plug and have these properly preserved and properly graded. You don't want to have your fingers on prototypes, especially prototypes. Prototypes are really rare. They weren't made in large quantities. We'll go through the process of how that works as I show you the pieces. So I've been multiple years trying to put together this collection, and I decided to pull the trigger, have them all graded, as I just said. And as a matter of fact, the moment this camera is off and this video is done, all these guys are going to go to an auction house, so they're not going to be at the store. I think we need an international market, a broader market that the type of market that you can get at an auction house than just our lovely clients that come in and out. So they're not going to be here at the store. I'm going to start with something that is not a prototype, although it's a very controversial figure. I was in Ciudad de Mexico. Here's a backstory. I was in Ciudad de Mexico, so I called a friend that knows a friend that knows a friend. You know how that goes. And he goes, I went like, hey, I'm looking for G.I. Joe. I'm a big Joe guy. It's not just a Star Wars. And I was looking specifically for Joes that were made in Mexico by a company called Ledy. So he suggested to contact this gentleman, super nice guy, that had a lot of Joes, and he did have a lot of Joes. So he gave me the address. It was the middle of the afternoon. I was being recorded for Plastic Crack Season 2 out of all things. And then the Uber pulls over, and then the Uber goes, we're here. So I look at my phone and I go, no, we're still like 12 blocks. It's 12 blocks that way. And he goes, I'm not going that way. So I knew I was getting into hot waters. The things that we do for toys, the things that we do for plastic. Beautiful people. They treat me wonderful. Nothing happened. So I was surfing through this gentleman collection, and then I spotted this guy, and I started looking at a tray, and out of all places, I found a very interesting Vlix. This Vlix, I shown this Vlix before. I did it on this video. Click on there if you want to see it. So he got regraded. He's been graded twice. His designation, and by the way, they graded with the explosive, as I call it, the explosive design, because he was in sonic weld. Some of you know. If you don't, I'm gonna go and explain. You know, they mold the pieces. Like the torso is 2 pieces. The arms are also usually a combination of pieces as well. Same thing with the legs, and then they put it together, and then with a very high pressure machine, they sonic weld the piece. So he wasn't sonic weld. It was designated by CIS as a South American bootleg from the 90s. And I don't know what to tell you. I love CIS. I'm not gonna debate their grading, but the problem with this guy is that he happens to be very, very similar to an actual Vlix. Some variants, some differences from the Vlix that we all know. For those of you who have seen a Vlix in person, the problem is that there is no other sample like this known so far. So obviously I spotted a Vlix, I grabbed it, I didn't ask too much questions. We came up with a deal for the whole lot. I took it home, I was happy with it. I noticed that it was, when I found it, the head was missing, and then he told me, oh yeah, the head is in another, one of the trays above. So I found the head. I showed it in the video that I pointed before, and then a lot of people of the community reach out to CIS asking questions. Like, tell me more about this Vlix and the veracity and all that. So Todd reached out and said, hey, give me the Vlix back. Let me open it up. Let's do more analyzing on it. He's made of resin out of all materials. So that's why I'm a little bit on the fence with the bootleg designation, but heck, it is what it is. I know for a fact, as of now, and if you happen to seen one of these, let us know. Leave it in the comments. Share this with someone who you think might know about this, and we would love to know more. So far, this was sort of like modern archaeology type of, if you will. In that beautiful settings, I found interesting things like this Frankenstein. So the story with Ledy goes that one Good Friday, the manager shows up at the factory and he goes, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, but we're filing for bankruptcy. We're gonna close doors on Monday. Everything will be shut down, so feel free. There's not gonna be any severance. Feel free to go and grab whatever you want from the back, and that's it. Last Friday, we're done." So a lot of people grabbed unpainted pieces. Like for example, this is a Lando head on a Lux torso with, believe if I'm not mistaken, those are Neum Nums arms and a Rebel Trooper soldier. So they got it. They were able to see that these pieces actually match and sonic weld this guy. So this is a really nice Frankenstein of Mexico that wasn't even painted. Basically overstock pieces that were just deemed, grab it if you want. This is some sort of the severance package in that same, apparently this gentleman lived close by to where the Ledy factory was. I found nice pieces like this. Admiral Akbar is not a trap. I can assure you that. That is not only Ledy, but it's unpainted. So I have a bunch of stuff that is currently at CIS being graded, like regular Ledy figures. Hopefully I get it at some point. We'll make a video once we get those. And then there are the non-sonic weld pieces, also from Ledy, from Mexico. So this piece never got a chance to be put together. So whomever was able to scoop it out, just was careful enough to grab matching legs and arms and torsos and head and just took it like that. And of course you need a machine to do it. So this hand right here has never been assembled. So going back to the big thing, which you probably saw on the title and the description, is prototypes. Like I was saying, I was finally able to pull the trigger and decided to grade this collection who I've been putting together for many, many years. Prototypes like this guy. This is a Power of the Force 2 Han Solo 12-inch. Can't remember the material that he was made of, but this is a first shot prototype. This is the type of things that personally, I do not believe that you should have this on a shelf, just waiting for an elbow to hit a part of the shelf, and this thing, next thing you know, it falls on the floor, or greasy fingers. It doesn't necessarily relate it to how you eat or what you grab. It's just there are grease naturally in our fingers, and on top of it, now it looks like a museum display piece. So this is a piece of history. That's the way I see prototypes. It's a piece of history because this is basically the beginning of the process of what ended up being the Han Solo 12-inch Power of the Force 2 that we all saw and love and played with. On that sense, there's a company that you Star Wars fans, I'm pretty sure, are well aware of. They've been doing this wonderful pieces called, the company's called Gentle Giant, and they're basically did a sculpts of the original vintage Star Wars figures, but they made it pretty much 12-inch or a little bit bigger. So it's ever since they started coming out, I've been tempted to go on a hunt and just try to grab them all. But then if you think about it, I'm going to go, where am I going to put 80 of these guys, you know? It's tempting because they look so good. It's like a blown up version of the figures that we loved and grew up with, although she came on the whole band box set. But regardless, it's a carded, gigantic, it's nice noodle. So this is a regular production piece that we just have here at the store. But I wanted to start by explaining what is it that I'm about to show. So,
the back.
The back? Oh, the back. You want to see the back?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Look at the back. As a matter of fact, some of these guys are here. So what I'm about to show you are prototypes from this line of a Star Wars Gentle Giant. And I'm gonna start, I try to organize it, if you wanna like do a little tease and show the entire counter filled with prototypes. I try to place them by movie. So let's start with R2, wonderful R2 here. He is not assembled. Part of the prototype process is that they don't necessarily have to be assembled because they're usually, the vast majority of them are made for approval process. Someone in the factory is making these after the back and forth of the design. In this case was obviously to blown up in scale the original vintage piece, and then it gets sent to the company here in the US, so someone has to sign off and approve and then send back, and that sets things in motion. So these guys, prototypes, become these guys production pieces. So then you have that. With that said, it's also very common to find prototypes that are not complete or even broken. I heard from the grapevine and from the collectors who, like me, are heavily into prototypes, that apparently right now there's this new trend or regulation in some companies that they deem protos to be destroyed afterwards, after the whole approval process is done. They want things to be destroyed because they know that these leaked into the market and it falls into the collector's hands, and obviously the companies that started this process, they don't want that to happen. Although, I don't know why you do that. Not just only you, Gentle Giant, Hasbro, Mattel, just let the protos out. It's really fun to see the beginning of a story, and this is once again modern archaeology. This was the first pack of. It's not, there's not just one of them. I'm pretty sure he was the first of many, but this was the first member of the group that eventually became a Gentle Giant 12-inch Little Jawa. So going in movie order, of course I have to show, he was deemed prototype. I have to show this beautiful snaggletooth. It's really rare to see him like so big. He's usually one of the small guys. Like for example, this piece, he has some sort of handwritten note that either the person who issued the prototype or the person who received it either made a note, sign off, approve it, or just said redo this and that. Usually there are some of them like that. So as you know, Snaggletooth, the famous Cantina member, there was a Zero exclusive blue Snaggletooth that is one of the sought after regular figures. I have one that actually came on this graded lot. So I just wanted to show you for size comparison, because we also happen to have a Gentle Giant blue Snaggletooth, which is super fun because, you know, when you put them together, you have this very strange blue looking figure, you know, and they made it in the same fashion as in the different scale. But having the prototype of a blue snag, 12-inch, it's something else. I can't see because of the fogginess of the way that they wrap it to protect it. But if I recall correctly, this guy had some marks. So some of these guys get painted. When they're painted like this, they're usually in the final stage of the pre-production process or approval process. But when they're not, it means that there are, you know, they haven't gotten to that point, okay, let me see a painted sample, right? So this power droid not only wasn't assembled, but it was never painted. And I think it's a beautiful piece to have it like this, separated. It's a beautiful piece and a beautiful sample. It's a gigantic power droid. I know that some of the Focus collectors guys will love to have the power droids like this. And then we go into the main guys, the first 12, I guess. And then we have farmers. Look, farm boy. Also a prototype. They're all prototypes. Everything that I'm showing you is prototypes. They're usually deemed test shots or prototypes. The big difference with the test shots is that test shots are or happen after the whole approval process took place, and they're basically calibrating the machine. So they do a few shots to see if they're good here. Just correct this, correct that. They're not necessarily painted. It depends. Every process vary. There's no standards to do shots or to do prototypes. Right now, some of the newer companies, especially the indie companies, are making 3D printed prototypes. So it varies. This look has a very, I think it was okay, because I can read the okay on it. So this is probably a last attempt to make a look okay, and there was a date on it. It was on 2023 when he got the okay to go into production, which makes it, like I said, this was the very last process, or at least one of them, to make him into production. You can keep walking this way if you want. This look right here, I don't think this is an okay, but he also has a note in the butt cheeks, out of all places. But it's an X-Wing pilot look, which, I love the line. I love seeing them like this, but seeing a prototype with marks and stuff and graded, now it's a museum display piece. So once again, it's a beautiful piece. Moving forward, Hammerhead. Take a look at this big guy. This is a lovely Hammerhead. Big box right there. He was, you know, sculpted. The original was sculpted out of an alien Kenner body. So the original 70s alien Kenner, they share some common denominators, like a part of the legs, the hands. If you put them right next to a Kenner figure, you'll see the you know, the similarities. It's also was deemed prototype. I don't think any of them are test shots, but you know, let's stay on the cantina just to show you more. This is a crazy collection. Like I said, I spent quite a few years trying to hunt them down. The Walrus man, you know, I don't like you either. And then this guy gets his hand chopped. Some of them, the accessories. So another question that I get all the time is like, is it complete? And there are no such thing as a complete prototypes, because the fact that you see that this one came with the blaster means it was added on the process. But usually, especially with Star Wars, when there's the same mold of the blaster that you just repeat over and over with other characters, you don't have to shoot it again or test it again. It has been approved. So that doesn't mean it's complete or not. However, he does have some sort of sign off, some signature in there. I don't know if you can catch it, because I know it's kind of tricky with the protective wrap, but the interesting piece. So we find Princess Leia, just a wonderful prototype of Princess Leia, 12-inch, no marks in the back. So just FYI, before you start blasting the comments like you've done in some of the videos, so how does CIA know that this is legit? So they have a way to, it's not just a dude on a garage. They have a way to check, first of all, they check the provenance. How do I find this? Which I'm not gonna disclaim, because that was a private, most of them were private negotiations. Then they go in I will say 90% of the time they go and contact someone from the company who vets and certifies that these are actual legitimate items, and then they go and grade it. And if they find some weird stuff that doesn't align with, the vast majority of the times, that doesn't align with the legitimacy of the item, then they just bounce it back and say, hey, we can't grade it, because there's too many red flags. Thankfully, these guys had a strong provenance and they were checked. And so they got graded. So we got Greedo, who shot first. As you all know, he's missing the little antennas at the top. He has a broken leg, which could be part of what I was saying, that these guys are deemed to be broken, although he got an okay. Let's see, an okay, among other things, that okay might not necessarily mean that he was okay to print or okay to start producing. It could mean okay for the next phase and whatever. So we have a good old Ben Kenobi, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, also prototyped. He's very, I love the sculpting on these. Very nice figure. And then we move into Empire. that's everything that I have. A New Hope. Yeah, I hope. And then with Empire, I was so lucky with Empire because I started getting like really cool stuff. Like for example, I got this Leia, a hot from the planet Hot. Leia, Empire Strikes Back with cold fatigues. But then I also found another version of her with a different head and some marks on it. So someone was playing around with a different type of heads. This means that she was probably first than this one. And maybe the head that belongs to this Leia wasn't ready yet, so they just put a placeholder in the process, and on top of it, it has a mark on it. So once again, this is something that I really, really enjoy about doing prototypes and collecting prototypes and that type of stuff, is that by doing, I meant doing the process of getting a prototype, not making these myself, is that it tells a story. It tells a story of how the figures ultimately would, you know, the pre-production stories, like getting a sneak peek behind the scenes of what it takes to make this figure. So as you know, one of our favorite characters of all time, and I'm just showing a regular vintage one. This is not a prototype. It's our good old friend, is not good to me dead, Boba Fett. And though I was lucky enough, this was really hard to get, but I was lucky enough to get this beautiful right here. Beautiful Fett, although obviously it doesn't have the backpack. It's missing some stuff. It's not painted. I believe the one that came out actually looked like that. Don't quote me on that. But finding that on the same phrase, prototype and Boba Fett, it's a big achievement for a Star Wars collection. So having a Boba Fett prototype of some sort is always a, you know, something that you want in your goal. So I was so happy to find this guy. So I'm just going to show a regular Yoda. Once again, not a proto. This is just a regular Yoda. I absolutely love this figure. As a child, I really, even though it wasn't like super easy to play with, because it was, you know, this little guy that didn't do much. After the prequels, that's when we actually got to see him fighting. But back then, he was just this puppet, you know. Adventure, excitement. A Jedi could not these things, but we do. So I found two of him. Let me grab this better. So two different color apps, and as you can see, he has two different tones, which makes this so interesting. He has two different tones, two different skin colors. The clothing is different as well in terms of color, so go figure. They were playing along with, even the eyes are different. You know, that's once again part of the, if you're a focus collector, and there's a lot of them that I know that they just do Yoda, like having this monster behind your little green guys, it would be very appealing, if I may add. The cane is also, they both have marks. So there were a lot of comments on the canes. Regrettably, there was no snake or no bathtub or whatever he had. So staying in Hot and staying at the Yoda's hut, we show a Bespin look. This Bespin look regrettably is missing a leg, which is also part of the process. It maybe got destroyed in the process, or he never made it to it. But this look is a very troublesome, maybe if I can get it closer to you, I'll make it easier. This is a very troublesome look, I may add. The character itself, as a friendly reminder, this is the one that loses his hand. So for some unknown reason, this look that is missing, no pun intended, is missing a leg instead of a hand, he has a lot of marks. So this makes me believe that this look was in the initial process of approval, because there's a lot of things in there. Or so it's either he belongs to a very early part of the approval process and therefore fix this, change this, exo and exo, so many marks, or maybe he's a test shot. Although they actually check and it's a prototype, so it's, you know, that very first look of, well, you still need to work on it. I don't like this and exo, so who knows? There's a story behind it. just staying with the Empire Strikes Back bounty hunters. This guy, lucky enough, came with his blaster rifle, so it's a very beautiful sample of our famous bounty hunter Busk. Going back to the planet Hoth, and ran out of batteries. You know, what can I tell you? And then a customer came in, so we're doing this at the store and we're open. So anyways, I was on Hoth with an added driver. Also was lucky enough that he came with a blaster rifle. Beautiful piece, one of my ultimate favorite pieces when I was younger. I was never lucky enough to have a Stormtrooper in the very early ages of the vintage one. So this is technically my first Stormtrooper, and I remember playing with him as a regular, you know, soldier. So this beautiful Hoth Han Solo came not only not weld, not put together, but he came, I'm assuming the head was already made and therefore it got painted, so they just added that for context, but the rest of the body is on that very early process that I've been explaining throughout the video of how it works. And then so CIS rated him, but they're not weld like the Vlix that I showed. This explosive display makes it really good, because now, once again, man, this is now a museum display piece. Like, it looks amazing and tells a story, and you go, how many of you play with this guy? So now seeing him like this, a 2-up basically version of him, and with an unpainted body, for those of us who are crazy about prototypes, this type of things is down that path. Staying in Hoth, I got this beautiful snow speeder. I think it's made of resin, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if the snow trooper. Yes, I'm sorry. No, it's probably in the data. What is it made of? But once again, it's missing an arm, which is regular, normal part of the process. That doesn't mean it's incomplete. It's, once again, maybe they just needed to send this out, or the arm got lost or what left behind in someone's drawer. Who knows what happened? But having a large percentage of the body almost complete and put together makes him really interesting. So moving into Return of the Jedi, I only have a few pieces there. The Salacious Crump. Beautiful piece as well. He's missing the tail, I think. That's why the hole is in there, but it's a prototype. So I know that there are a lot of Salacious fans out there who also do him as a focus. So having this guy, having the prototype of him, it's something fun. I didn't even hesitate when the offer was on the table for me to get it, so I just pulled the trigger right away. And then one of the infamous figures of the Return of the Jedi is Jackface. And out of luck, and these were two different sources, I was able to snatch two of them. And they have different notes in the back. So once again, it's part of that beautiful process. The paint, I will say, is pretty much identical. One graded 60 plus and the other one graded 80 for some reason. I don't know about that, but you know, something fun that we like to show. And the last piece, how are you guys? Coming in. And the last piece, and with this, we close up this crazy collection of graded prototypes, is this Gamorrean guard, which is a beautiful, gigantic piece. They left the axe a little loose purposely, because that way you can see that the axe has some notation marks on it. Beautiful to see a Gamorrean this size, much less, you know, on top of it a prototype. So just sharing, I wanted to do a video of the whole collection. This will be the last time that this collection is together, unless at the auction house someone buys them all, which I highly doubt. These are gonna go straight as he turns that camera off. These are gonna go to the auction house, and probably they're gonna be spread throughout the collecting community. So I wanted to capture on video the last time that this collection was put together. And thank you for watching. I mean, we're gonna keep making content like this, and I appreciate the support. Share, subscribe, like, comment, let us know what do you want to see. I'm trying to do different stuff now. Working on Plastic Rock Season 2 that's coming in soon. But thank you for the support, and I'll see you on the next one.